Susan shakes her head. She was definitely something. God, I remember all those staff meetings we had to go to. She never had anything productive to discuss. Cara pours 2 more glasses of Pinot for Susan and Hillary. She hands them off and then takes a seat back in her armchair. She pulls out her phone to check it for a text and sees that Liz sent her a message. Liz will be here in 15 minutes, she tells the group as she reads the text. By the time she gets her ass in here, it's going to be too late to have a cup of tea, Cara says. Before we all sit down, I have a few appetizers that we can have at the dining room table, but the party will be outside. I didn't bust my ass for nothing. Who wants to hear the menu? Cara asked. The others all smile and nod in agreement. Me, Hillary said. Yeah, I'm starving, Carole added. Maria raised her eyebrow. Let's hear it, girl. Cara stands up from her chair and pulls out a little piece of paper sitting on the kitchen counter. Alright, so I have mini spinach quiches, cucumber bites with herbs and cheese, chunky chicken salad and wonton chips, ricotta, tomato, and chive tarts, orange and almond scones, and guacamole deviled eggs. We can also dig into some food that a few of you brought. I will now take everything out and set it on the counter. I will also bring out paper plates, silverware, and napkins for everyone to enjoy their treats on the dining room table. Let's stand up and make a line in an orderly fashion against the counter, Cara announced to the girls. Everyone stands up and begins to make a line in front of the counter, eager to indulge on the appetizers. Oh, these look so good, Hillary exclaims, examining the spread. Susan smiles, taking a mini spinach quiche and popping it into her mouth. God, that's to die for. Cara blushed in response, enjoying her friend's compliments. Why, thank you. I always wanted to host a little tea party during the season. I think April is the perfect time, she says, setting some napkins down on the counter. It definitely is, especially since school is almost over, Hillary says, grabbing a scone and taking a small bite. God, I can't wait for summer. No more planning for months and no more grading papers, Carole added. You can say that again. I'm already starting to think about the parties I want to plan this summer, Cara chuckled, filling up a plate. Cara sets down some decorative placemats on the table so everyone can enjoy their snacks in a nice setting. She sets down some pastel pink napkins to match the colorful yellow and pastel pink polka dot pattern on the placemats. Everyone fills their plates at the counter and then takes a seat at the table. Cara and Michelle sit next to each other, Cara on the left side of the head of the table and Michelle on her right. Tanya sits next to Michelle and Nicole sits next to Tanya. Next to Nicole, the sequence followed Carole, Carla, and Christina. On the other side of the table, Rebecca sits on the right head of the table while Susan and Hillary are on the other side across from the 3 C's. As everyone sits at the table, they enjoy the selection of food that Cara has prepared for them. Man, this guac is so good, Michelle says, taking a scoop. I know. The spices that Cara used are so flavorful, Carole nods, taking a bite out of the deviled eggs. Honestly, Cara, I don't know how you come up with these food combinations. They're so creative, Hillary complimented. Cara smiled sheepishly. Well, I always try to impress you guys. Cara pours a cup of tea for herself as she continued. Liz will be here in about 5 minutes. Let's just keep it cool and not bring anything up that will trigger her about what we were talking about earlier. Cara nods, looking at Michelle. All right, we got it. We'll keep it low-key with Liz, Carole says, popping a deviled egg into her mouth. She would live up to that title if she kept her fucking mouth shut, Christina laughed out loud. Huh, yeah, she always had a big mouth, Cara chimed in. The girls share a laugh, amused by the playful banter. As the girls finish eating, Cara invites them all to sit down at the couch as they wait for Liz to arrive. The time was now 2 o'clock and the doorbell rang. Cara hurries over to the door and opens it to see Liz, finally. Liz is wearing a red, ruffle off-the-shoulder dress with black heels. She is holding a small box of tea crackers for Cara. Hey, Cara, Liz sighs in response. Cara presses her lips as she responds to Liz. Hey, come on in. Her voice is shuddered into a whisper. She slowly pulls Liz in for a hug and a kiss, unexcited about her being here. She was upset that she was not only 2 hours late, but she also started a fight with Dawn last week, and tensions between the other girls in the group were high because they were unsure whether or not they should take her side. Cara leads Liz into the living room and she slowly greets the other girls. Cara offers her a glass of sparkling water as she takes a seat on the couch next to Michelle. As Liz enters the room, the girls look up at her with blank expressions, giving her a forced smile. It was obvious the tension was high. Hey, girls, Liz smiled, greeting them in return. Hey, Liz, Rebecca said, her voice flat. Nicole, Carla, Hillary, and Carole nod in her direction and say hey. Susan waves but doesn't verbally respond. Michelle rolls her eyes and looks away after the greeting. Liz sits comfortably on the couch, crossing her legs. She clears her throat as Cara hands her a glass of water. I'm so sorry I'm so late. I brought you some tea crackers, Cara, she says, handing her the box. What's your excuse this time? Michelle perks up. Liz looks over at Michelle, caught off guard by the blunt response. I was at my attorney's office all morning. I'm planning on threatening Dawn with a harassment lawsuit, Liz responded. Cara's smile immediately drops as she is looking at the crackers. No way, she gulped. The other girls look at Liz with shock. Are you fucking serious? Christina asked. Yes, I'm serious. Don threatened me with the loss of my job, and he harassed me last week. I'm taking serious action against him because I don't want to be fired again. Liz shrugs. I'm really not supposed to talk about it until I get closer to serving him, she says. The girls remain silent for a moment, listening intently. Cara shakes her head. Wow. Are you sure you want to go that route, Liz? I don't know why everyone's questioning my actions. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I am sure, Liz says. Michelle shakes her head. Liz, I'm not sure if that's the correct way to handle this. Are you sure you don't want to have a private conversation instead of just hitting him with a harassment lawsuit? I mean, he might sue you for defamation. I don't see a reason to get a lawyer involved. Liz closes her eyes and sighs deeply. Look, I know you're all surprised and a bit worried for what's going to happen to him, but I will ask that you please do not tell him. This was supposed to be confidential, but unfortunately, I already let it slip out. I don't want to waste my time trying to get through to him with a private conversation. He's too good at standing his ground and saying whatever he wants to say without any interruptions or doubts, Liz shrugged. But to bring a legal battle on him? Don't you think that's going a bit too far, Liz? Tanya asked, her eyebrows furrowed. I'm just so mad, and I don't know what else to do with myself, Liz said, her face turning red in a way that it rarely did. Cara clears her throat, trying to get everyone's attention. I think we should discuss this over some tea. Let's go, girls. Cara leads the girls out to her backyard where the table is set up. The setting is nestled under a natural canopy of trees, giving it a tranquil and shaded atmosphere. Hanging lanterns, also wrapped in pink ribbons, dangle from the branches, adding a whimsical touch to the scene. Lush greenery and a well-maintained lawn complete the scenery and picturesque environment. A long rectangular table, draped in a crisp white tablecloth, is the centerpiece, surrounded by white chairs adorned with pink ribbons tied elegantly around their backs. Floral arrangements, mostly pink blooms, add vibrancy to the table, complemented by decorative vases scattered throughout. She's set up china teacups, small snacks, and little cakes and treats. The girls walk around the table and sit in their assigned seats. Cara and Michelle take both heads of the table, and the sequence follows. Tanya, Liz, Maria, Nicole, Christina, Susan, Hillary, Rebecca, Carole, and Carla on both sides of the table. As the girls sit down at the table, they begin to admire the beautiful setup. The pink flowers and pink accents match the table setting. The lanterns add a touch of romance as they begin to glow. Carole smiles, admiring the scene. This is so beautiful, Cara. You always go out for these tea parties. Cara nods. Thank you, honey. There's one more thing I'd like to give everyone before we dig in. Cara stands up to retrieve a big box of hats for all of the ladies to wear. Pastel hats are of various shapes and styles. There are pastel floppy sun hats, straw hats with various colored pastel ribbons, and even a few vintage-inspired ones. All of the hats have ribbons and little bows and are different pastel colors. The colors go hand in hand with the pastel yellow and pink polka dot table set. Cara begins to pass out the tea party hats, going around the table to each girl. Here you go, Tanya, Cara says, handing her a big floppy sun hat trimmed in a cream color ribbon along with a few small flowers. Oh, this is adorable! Thank you, Cara, Tanya says, placing the hat on her head. Here, Christina, I know how much you love purple, so I got this for you. Cara hands her a purple fascinator with a black lace design and a feather attached to the side. Oh, this is gorgeous! Christina smiles warmly as Cara sets the hat down on her head. Carole grabs a pink straw hat with a blue ribbon around it, putting it on her head. This is so cute! Thanks, Cara, Carole smiled. Nicole grabbed a white cloche-style hat with a pastel yellow bow. This hat is so pretty. It'll go great with my dress, she said, putting it on her head. Liz's hat is a sky blue sun hat with a pink ribbon and a matching flower on the side. Cara continued to hand out the hats to the girls. The table became a sea of pastel colors as all the girls were dressed to match the color scheme of the table. Cara takes a seat at the table and gets ready to read the menu. All right, ladies, I will now announce our afternoon tea and treats. For tea, I have a variety of options, which are oolong, mint, chamomile, Earl Grey, English breakfast, and white tea. And for our treats, Gianni has prepared us cucumber sandwiches, spring pastel eclairs, mini chocolate strawberry cheesecakes, Russian tea cakes, and blueberry lemon scones. You may now fill your plate and dig into these delicious treats. Enjoy! The girls fill their plates and begin to chat and enjoy their delicious treats. Laughs and smiles fill the air, and the conversation begins to flow naturally, leaving any thoughts about Don and Liz's argument behind them for now. Man, Gianni is getting so good at baking, Rebecca says, taking a bite of a blueberry scone. I know. Every tea party he gets better and better at choosing the appropriate treats to bring to each one, Carla responded. This is the best spread I've ever seen, Cara. Kudos to you and your husband, Christina complimented. Thank you. He actually did the majority of the cooking today. I just decorated the yard, Cara chuckled, taking a sip of her chamomile tea. The girls continued to enjoy the tea, the snacks, and the conversation amongst themselves. They all knew that the elephant in the room needed to be addressed, but no one knew how to break the ice. Michelle clears her throat, trying to get everyone's attention. Well, we can't stay silent on this topic forever. It's time for Liz to face the truth. Could you please elaborate on what the hell you were thinking when you decided to slap Don and throw a drink onto him? Like, seriously, Liz, that was out of fucking line, Michelle said, saying what was on everyone's minds. Her tone wasn't exactly comforting, as she wanted to know the truth. Instead of being confrontational, she chose anger. Cara continued, you could have handled it a different way. You didn't have to go into a rage of anger and get nasty with him. Did you forget he's your boss? He would have fired you in an instant if you chose to do something like that in the workplace. That was completely uncalled for, Cara shakes her head. Michelle and Cara glance at one another and sit back in their chairs as they wait for Liz to respond. They knew she was a little nervous and probably wanted to snap at both Michelle and Cara for assuming how she felt. Liz looks at Michelle and Cara slightly offended, but she bit her tongue, trying not to snap at the girls. She sighs deeply before speaking. Look, I'm not sorry for what I did, Liz said bluntly. And now I'm taking legal action because I think I know what's best for me and my safety. Don is acting all high and mighty the way that Marnie did with us, and it's time for me to stand up for myself and threaten to sue him if he continues with this behavior. I was busy working with my lawyer this morning and signing some paperwork. He will be served in the upcoming week. If I do this, I know that I will have someone on my side, and I will not be silenced. This will not risk me the loss of my job. The girls are slightly speechless at Liz's confession. They look at each other with shock, trying to decipher what to say back to Liz. I'll have you know, Rebecca spoke up before the other girls could open their mouths. Sometimes legal action isn't always the answer. As you mentioned, you need to have a private conversation with him. I'm sure we're all confused as to why you would jump to conclusions like that. You're planning on suing him because you couldn't get your emotions in check and handle the situation in a civilized manner? Was your goal to stun him so hard that he couldn't even form words? This is the first time I've ever heard of anyone trying to sue their boss, and that shit doesn't just go away. A word of advice, don't jump to conclusions before the problem is solved, Rebecca says, sipping her tea slowly. Liz stares at Rebecca, feeling slightly humiliated and shocked that Rebecca had even said anything since she rarely ever speaks up. She opens her mouth to try to say something, but no words come out. Carla sighed. Liz, I think everyone's just trying to be reasonable here. Your decision doesn't seem right. You can get into some real legal trouble. Are you even sure filing a lawsuit is the right thing to do? You will lose your job if Don finds out. You will only make things worse between the two of you if you threaten to sue him. I promise you, it's not the right way to handle it. Rebecca speaks up again. Rebecca's right. Susan chimed in, joining the conversation. Please, Liz, think about all of this before you file the lawsuit. Michelle jabs at Liz. Aw, who's stunned to speak now? Your actions will always have consequences, Liz. It's the way that you deal with them that will get you to move forward. And of course, we don't mean to trigger you in any way. So I'll ask again, for the 4th time. What was going through your mind when you decided that the best idea was to slap Don in the face and throw a glass of wine onto him? It's unprofessional to act that way towards our boss, Michelle sighed, folding her hands onto the edge of the table. I got so angry. I lashed out on him. I didn't think. I was overwhelmed with so much rage. I hated how he was bossing me around and I acted without thinking, Liz answered bluntly. Rage? You threw a wine glass and slapped him in the face because you had rage? You couldn't even think about your actions before you did that? You gotta be joking, Michelle said, shaking her head. I was provoked when he said that I would be risking the loss of my job if he turned South Street into a charter school. I know he apologized for the way he's been treating me, but it still seems like he's in a moment of denial. I don't understand why he thinks the only way to fix this is to make a change to the school entirely. I had to take action somehow, and I knew filing a lawsuit would be the right way to handle this. My anger towards him just boiled over, and I knew I had to defend myself. So, I slapped him in the face to put him in his place. I felt horrible about it. When I threw wine on him, I wasn't thinking about how he would be feeling, so I stormed off. I know it was selfish and uncalled for, and I apologize for making a scene, Cara. I just couldn't control myself, and that's the truth, Liz sighed, speaking up for herself. The girls sit in silence, listening to Liz. Carla was the first to speak up in response. I mean, I understand that you were angry, but don't you think the way you handled it was a little extreme? I mean, you can't go into panic mode and snap like that towards someone who hasn't done anything to provoke you. Have you ever tried communicating with him before? He might actually be willing to change his behavior, but the only way to do that is to talk to him like an adult, just like how we are right now. You know what? I'm starting to think you all are delusional. He raised his voice at me and started cussing me out. When I was complaining about my job, he completely shut me out. I thought he would understand how I was feeling and wanted to change things for the better. But instead, he just drops a bomb on us about this whole charter school plan, not even worrying about how it will be funded. And what if the plan fails? I wonder if he's even thought of a backup plan. Outside of these events, he acts like an evil god. He acts like he can twist everyone's words around and control them. That's what he's been doing to me for months. I've kept quiet about it for a while now, but it's time for me to strike him with a lawsuit. I have been incredibly loyal to him, Marnie, and South Street for years. I never imagined losing my job when Marnie was principal. I never imagined that I would have to deal with this type of abuse. I've always been a strong woman and good about faking my emotions. But Don is just too powerful. He acts all high and mighty, and I'm tired of feeling like his fucking butler all the time. He wants to do everything his way, and I don't want to work there anymore if he continues to treat me this way with no action of change. Liz sighs, almost in tears. She folded her hands onto the table and leaned back in her chair. I'm sorry I got physical with him. I'm sorry I threw wine on him and then stormed out. I hope you girls can forgive me. And the whole thing about Michael's speech, I don't know what got into him. I'm pissed he didn't try to intervene or stop me from doing that. I think he just wants me to quit. And honestly, I don't want to give up again. The legal action should help me face him, even though it seems like it's the wrong thing to do, she says, tears welling up in her eyes. The girls listen intently to Liz's explanation. Many of them are starting to feel sympathy for her, including Michelle, surprisingly. Liz's point of view did make sense in a way, and it was valid. Oh, Liz, Michelle murmured. I think I'm beginning to understand where you're coming from. Liz looks up at Michelle with tears in her eyes. She begins to sob as she tries to form a sentence. Listen, I'm sorry. I feel terrible about what happened. But I'm sure it's clear to everyone that I have anger issues, and at times I feel unable to relegate my emotions. With Dawn, I was so angry and provoked that I knew I was going to snap at some point. Cara looks at Michelle and then back at Liz, who is wiping her tears. The best thing to do is to talk to him, Cara says. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I want to have a conversation with him. Liz breathes deeply as she looks at her hands. I understand, but he's been struggling just as you have. He wants to make changes and he needs you to listen to him. He's been really stressed about South Street and trying to keep it preserved. You know that, right? Michelle replied softly. Cara swallows her bite as she looks up at the conversation. I don't think that's the case. I don't think the school is going to end up closing. I just think Don has too much on his plate and he's unsure of how to handle it. He wants to make drastic changes to the school because he thinks it's the only way he will have control over everyone again. Marnie was in control over everyone when she started, and towards the end she kept denying that she abused all of us when Don finally cut her leash. I don't think that's what he's doing at all. He's trying his best to be a good leader, but recently he's shown us that he is unsuccessful. Cara speaks up. Liz stops sobbing for a moment and looks up across the table, trying to remember if Don has said anything to her about changes to her position. Michelle chimes in. I really think that Don has good intentions, but honestly, what he needs is support. You remember when Marnie was principal? Don was powerless, and that's what he's feeling again. I think what he needs is people who he can trust to work with. People who can help him take care of the school so he isn't so overwhelmed. He needs your support, Liz. Wait, hold on. You think he doesn't trust me? You think I don't trust him? You think I wouldn't be able to help him take care of the school? Because that isn't the case. I am perfectly capable of helping him and using my skills to take care of important tasks. But the shit he's got me doing for the past 4 months that is considered busy work is not fun. If he wants me to help him and be responsible for more than just useless office duties, then he needs to stand up and say that. He acts like he never needs the help, and when I offer to help, he tells me that I won't understand it. I've been a secretary for a long time, and I know what I'm doing. And a lot of the time, it feels like he is constantly questioning my strength. It's annoying. Liz throws her hands into the air against the allegations that Michelle tells her. No, that's not what I'm saying at all, Liz, Michelle says, realizing that Liz has a lot of anger and emotions brewing inside her. I have no doubt in my mind that you know what you're doing. I've seen the things you've done, and you're so responsible. But Don doesn't know what's going to happen. He's trying to hold everything in, and there's so many changes that need to be worked out at the school. He's in over his head. It's normal for him to be stressed out. Liz places her hand on her heart as she takes a sigh. Oh, thank God. You're on my side. I was worried you girls wouldn't agree with me. I've been so hurt recently, and it's been hard for me to control my anger. You girls help me realize that I'm going to have a conversation with Don before I decide to file a lawsuit. Please don't tell him what I'm planning on doing. This should stay between us. I don't want to scare him, and I don't want him to retaliate. I'm going to have a private conversation with him on Monday, and if he decides that he's not going to change or move forward with this charter school thing, I will be taking legal actions to cover the safety of my job. Of course, honey, Cara reassured her, still rubbing her back. No, we don't want you to get into serious trouble. We just didn't want to see you do something you can't take back. I'm really glad to hear that you're going to have a talk with him next week, she smiled. Yeah, he really needs to know how you feel. Things are going to get better, Liz, Michelle comforted. Dawn is an understanding person, Tanya agrees. Christina folded her arms on the table. Liz, I would really take a second to reassess the situation. I've been a manager for 10 years, and the responsibility is not easy. You all need to cut Don some slack, because it's pretty hard for him to consider how you're all feeling about the change. In my experience, I've gotten into several arguments with other associates and managers not agreeing with the way I handle things, but I have never witnessed a lawsuit against one of the managers in the store. Are you sure you're making the right decision? 'Cause if I were you, I wouldn't press charges on something so stupid, Christina says, stating her opinion. She obviously did not agree with what Liz was doing. Liz looked at Christina, slight anger flashing in her eyes as she realized that Christina was not going to give in to her feelings. Stupid. I don't think my situation is stupid at all, Liz said bluntly. No, the situation isn't stupid. However, the way you're treating Don is the problem. You're a grown woman, and you should know how to respect your boss. If you don't understand how hard the role is, you shouldn't be questioning his ability to do things, Christina sighs. I know you're not speaking on this topic as if it was ever important to you, Christina. What the hell would you know about responsibilities? You sat on your ass all day in the office and complained about the smallest things. You only worked for Marnie for 6 months. You didn't give a rat's ass about responsibilities. All you wanted to do was boss Liz around like Marnie's little minion and make her miserable. You think you've matured in the past 10 years? I was surprised when you shared you're a center store manager for a grocery store now. You couldn't even handle the role of assistant principal. What makes you think you're the boss now? Cara says. Cara's sudden involvement in the conversation caught the girls by surprise, and they were stunned by her bold comments. They all stared silently at them as the tension filled the air around the table. Cara's right. Answer the fucking question, Liz charged at Christina. Do I think I've matured over the years? Yes, of course I have. I'm not as clueless as I was 2 decades ago, Christina said, trying to keep her composure. Yeah, right. You still act like you're fresh out of grad school, Liz snapped. You act all big and important, but you think this is the way to handle this? Threatening to sue Don? Are you serious? Christina folded her hands on the table. Well, if you have any better ideas to resolve this, go ahead and tell me, Liz glares over at Christina as she takes a sip of tea. You want to resolve this? Then talk to Don and figure things out. You're a pretty smart woman, Liz. Christina's tone suddenly softened. And you think I'll take that advice from you? Liz asked, still furious but trying to calm down. Well, you asked me for my opinion, and I'm giving it to you, Christina said with a shrug. Yeah, and I don't think you're a smart person for doing it. Your experiences in a grocery store are nothing compared to what I have to witness every time I walk into work, Liz said bluntly, her tone still harsh. Ladies, let's calm down, please. This was supposed to be a peaceful tea party. Let's just take it down a notch, okay? Cara tells them politely, exchanging glances between the two of them. The girls all nodded in agreement. Michelle spoke up in agreement. Yeah, it's just turning into an argument now. Yeah, let's just calm down, okay? Cara said gently, hoping the two girls would listen. Christina sits back and rolls her eyes. Liz slowly sighed, realizing that she was probably overreacting. Tension began to subside slightly. She takes a long, deep breath and begins to collect herself before speaking to Christina again. All right, I'm sorry I lashed out on you. I know I come off as someone who can't control their anger, and it's true. I'm just scared about how I should approach this situation with Don. Since we were discussing earlier about suing him, I don't think I'm going to move forward with it now. I trust all of you not to spill that information and keep it confidential. If he finds out about it, he will fire me with no hesitation. By the way, is anyone else scared shitless about this whole charter school plan? Don is definitely getting a bit ahead of himself. He doesn't realize how ridiculous he sounds, Liz says. Don is just going to make things difficult for everyone. He needs to reassess the situation and learn how to handle things in a calm manner. If he continues with this plan, I can assure you all that it will fall onto him. Then what is he going to do? It's not like he'll quit. He doesn't want to step down and leave the project in someone else's hands. But he will soon realize that this is the wrong way to handle things, Cara says. Don is a good person and a great leader. He just needs to reflect on what he is doing. I think he needs some time to think about this plan, Michelle stated. Liz nodded her head as she took in all of her friends' words of support. You're right. Don definitely needs to take a step back and figure things out for himself. It's not easy being principal. It's obvious that he's getting stressed out and he's overwhelmed, Carla said, sipping her tea. The girls all nodded in agreement, realizing that Don was having a hard time dealing with his responsibilities.